Hi and welcome to Miss Paint-A-Lot's channel that I've taken over for a short while to show you some of the things that I got recently at a local auction. And here's the first lot. There's two lots to have a quick flick through and see what you think. There we go. It is a load of old paperwork. Now, not a lot of people would get excited about a lot of old paperwork, but ooh, it's lovely. We'll have a quick look through at some of them. This first one, you see, look at that lovely handwriting. You can make that out. It says Police Chambers Greenock, or Greenock, which is a town on the River Clyde in Scotland, just up from Newcastle. It was it is and was a harbour port for the import and export, but this letter, you can see, look at that lovely handwriting, and it's dated the 23rd of February 1878, and if I can read it, it says, "Dear Sir, the proportion of police pay due 18th instant payable by the Harbour Trust is £130, 13 shillings and a penny." And then at the bottom they've got a little one penny stamp that they must have applied as sort of a seal that it's been paid, and on the back it's got somebody's written, there's a number H242846, police establishment, £130, 13 shillings and a penny, 26th of February 1878. So that's nice, isn't it? That's the whole idea of these things, of course, is to eventually one day to get around to digitising them and using them as backgrounds in some of our journals. There's another one for exactly the same thing, the police chambers, October 1875, and this time they owed £127, 7 shillings and 9pence, and again that was paid. And there's quite a few of those. They obviously had a lot of. They obviously paid for their own policing of the harbour. There's a number of those: 1879, 1874, 1878, and as you can see, they've all got those little one penny stamps on the bottom to say that they'd been paid. And then we move on to these, which is a Greenock and Grangemouth Dockyard Company Shipbuilders and Repairers. And that's for 30th of May 1918, so that's just at the end of the First World War. Hereby please find postal order for 10 shillings and 9pence on payment account which kindly exchange and return. There we go. But look at that lovely letterhead. Look at that. That's just glorious. They don't make them like that anymore. And again, somebody on the back has written some little handwritten notes, and it's hard to think that just over 100 years ago, 104 years ago, somebody was writing that out by hand to pay somebody. The shipbuilders and repairers were paying somebody, and you'll notice there it's been audited by Hardy and Rowan. We'll come along to them a bit later when they've got some other things that they've audited, and it says Chartered Accountants is one from the Engineer's Office, Harbour Works, Greenock, and that was for £2, 11 shillings and 6pence. Some of these writings are quite hard to make out, but I love the red on it. Whether that means it wasn't paid, I'm not sure. But that, once that's digitised in and used as a background, that's just glorious. We have some more ones for the police, paid for the police. They obviously needed a lot of police. But I would imagine back then the dockyards were quite a rough place to be. Another one for the Engineer's Office, and another one for the Engineer's Office. That one's the £3 and 6pence. I can't quite read out what it says. Nope. Fitting and diddling above, I think it says. Something like that. And there's quite a few of those. Engineer's Office, different dates. for different amounts. And luckily somebody's got some red ink, which is great because I love, well, as you know, Miss P loves a little bit of red, particularly when she's doing Timmy. Another one, and what we've got this time? This time we've got to the Clyde Shipping Company, Alan Swan, agent. Again, it's got the penny stamp. They obviously use that as a form of signifying something that had either been paid or something like that, I would imagine. Again, that one's for, it's a freight for the cartage. I think it's probably tons, 100 weights, quarts and litres or something like that, I would guess. So I'm suggesting that probably says 1 tonne and 1300 weight, something like that, of something of rags, quantity of rags, 87 bales perhaps, quantity rags. This one is to J.W.J. Robinson Builders. Again, these are in West Kilbride, which is the same area. Paid September the 1st, 1890. One thing was for 2 shillings 11 pence, and the other was for 3 shillings, so it will come to a total of 5 shillings and 11 pence. And one there would Slaters and Lead Merchants, that one. Again, using the same penny stamp, it was obviously a thing. New Street, Irvine. There's quite a lot in this little box, isn't there? And here we go. Here's one look. Is to Smith and Jackson, carting contractors and manure merchants. Who said there's not mucking brass? There we go. Manure merchants. And that one was for £1 4 shillings. And it says, you can probably just see, to lorry shifting something, gears and I can't make that out, but they obviously moved a lot of it around, and I guess that's where the carting contractors comes in, and I guess the manure came in because they had a lot of horses doing the carting. And again, you'll see that that was audited by this Hardy and Rowan Chartered Accountants. And that was the Arbour Trust General Manager's Office, 11th of November 1911, just before the First World War. Who knew what horrors were to come? Now, interesting, you see, when I look at something like that, you think, oh, but then you have a desire, don't you, to know who Hardy and Rowan were, don't you? So what you can do is you can get the fateful iPad, and then you can go to somewhere like Digital NLS UK, which is the Scottish Post Office directories, and you'll see, let me open up a bit, there's a Mr. Hardy there, look, William Hardy, where am I pointing? William Hardy of Hardy and Rowan Chartered Accountants, 60 Esplanade. That was where the gentleman lived, or at least with Hardy. We could look at Rowan as well, he's further down the list. And then you think, well, where's 60 Esplanade? So then you can go to Google Maps, and that's number 60. A current picture, obviously. I don't think that electric lamppost was probably there when Mr. Hardy was living there, but that's what it looks like. And then you think, well, what did it look like back in the day? So if you go to the National Library of Scotland, what they have is all the maps, pretty much of all the country really, but in particular Scotland, and they have a map of the current properties, roads, etc., and then you can pull up a number of old maps of what it looked like in certain times. So if we search for Greenock, and then we can select, say, the the Ordnance Survey 25-inch map for 1892 to 1914, which was the time that Mr. Hardy was living at that address. And then we can see that's what it looks like now. You can see that little harbour there, and you can see the one on there. And then you'll also notice that there's more harbours around here, which aren't on the current one, because they've obviously filled them in and used them for building and estates and whatever. And let's go along. Let's see if we can find the esplanade. I think it's Hamilton Street, Main Street. It's going to be around there. It is. You see there? It says Esplanade. So if we looked along there, we'd find number 60, and we'd see what it looked like back in 1911 when he was living there. You look at all these other houses that have been built where it's just open fields. It's all fascinating, isn't it? Well, it is to me anyway. Anyway, we've got there another one. Look, audited by Mr. Hardy and Rowan, chartered accountants, and they were obviously quite rich because that was a very posh house. And this one is again for lorry shifting, heights and I don't know, some stock or other. But what a lovely background paper that's going to make, with the red stamp, the red writing, the stamp for the Harbour Trust in 1912. It's just marvellous, and there's loads and loads of those, so we'll flick past some of those, otherwise you'll be getting bored of me. All for different dates, all around that time, all for carting stuff around. Ooh, I've got 2 green stamps on that one. That must be an important one. Oh, the 2 halfpenny stamps. They obviously ran out of penny stamps for that day. And another one with the green ones. Again, audited by our friends Hardy and Rowan, chartered accountants. And then we have some other little ones here. This one's from 19... I don't know, what would you say that was? 16 perhaps? Dear Mr. Campbell, very many thanks for your letter received Sunday and your kind suggestion about my I don't know what that is, mother perhaps. I quite agree with you, blah blah blah. What a lovely little letter that is. And another one from May Bean, maybe. What have they got here? This is the County of Romershire, Parish of Greenock, county rates for the year from Whitsun 1877 to Whitsun 1888. There was £1 13 and 9. Look at that. That's nearly 150-year-old paperclip. Who knew, eh? You see, you think these things are modern. And there's the county rates, and it probably tells you what you're paying for. Oh yes, look. Police assessment, county general assessment, and the Contagious Diseases Animal Acts assessment, for which you had to pay 3 shillings and 4 pence, or 4.5 pence, for whatever your contagious animals were. Mr. Campbell again. What's that? Particulars of something or other, house, season 1893. I think it's basically telling you what's in a house. Must be for probate or something like that. It's Mr. Greenock's. And that's a lovely one, that is. Long Park Sanitary Potter, Hillhead and Perseton Fire Clayworks Department. so at least you knew where to go for your toilets. Fire bricks, flooring tiles, flue covers, glazed pipes, gas retorts, vent linings and chimney cans. Ground fire clay wall coping, cattle troughs, white enamelled and coloured glazed bricks, white enamelled scullery sinks, milk coolers and washing tubs. Sole makers of Buchanan's patent ventilating drain traps. Who knew that you did all those things? What do we have here? Now this is an interesting one. This is Fleetwood Jones. That's a name, isn't it? You think that would be a place, but that's that gentleman there. And I'll just read this because it's quite amusing. It says, this is his catalogue, by the way. It looks like he made various types of shed, an outdoor building. But it says here, you ought to read this. In the days, the sectional building trade was considered highly respectable. A maker's first object was to build a nice, strong structure and use good materials. With the house building boom came a new spirit. Somebody or other got hold of the sheds for the millions idea. Others caught the fever, with what result? At first one reduced in price, but maintaining quality, and one or two went bankrupt. And that set the vicious ball rolling. It has not yet stopped. In all sorts of Tom, Dick scenarios come into the trade, and while they lasted, sold muck. Flimsy rubbish, lasts for frames, flimsy boards and tacks. Now you will examine other catalogues beside mine and you will see that you can pay more or you can pay less. But none of us can sell you good buildings at sow's ears prices. You will note that I do not claim this as a result of wonderful organisation and other this and that nobody can give you the same, let alone better value than I. I could make and sell sectional so-called buildings at lower prices. You could then expect to receive a building composed of framework as small as a doorstop and the flimsiest covering of boards with everything else in keeping, held together with a few tacks. I'm pretty well alive, I worked it all out many times, but I will not make a greenhouse with glass bars that bend with the weight of the glass, nor any other buildings constructed on the same cut price rubbishy lines. That's what price cutting means. You see, however little you pay for a building, you expect a building, and not something like a banana box, but not nearly so strong. I will not sell garages below a certain standard of strength. A car is worth a decent cover. Why pay a couple of hundred or more for a car and then house it in a crate? Why buy a nice house with space for a garage and fill that space with a shack? In my catalogue you'll find buildings at varying prices. They all contain the very best I can give you for the money. The lowest price is good and strong and conscientiously made. The photo at the top of this page, people standing on top of it, the photo at the top of this page is that of a specially built for show greenhouse. It is just one of my standard 8 buildings of 9 foot long, my job. As the manager and proprietor of the business, I consider that I have one job, and that's to see that you get the value which this page leads you to expect. May I work for you, please, on those lines? Fleetwood Jones, London, SE 8. I offer no apology for this vigorous page to anybody. The better class makers agree with me and deter cut price rubbish, but they don't say so quite emphatically. I invite them to join me in this quality campaign. What a man! Tells it like it is, straight up front. And there's some of his lovely buildings. And there's that one there, you see, that one there. That one's a customer sent us a photo of a building. Could we make him one like it? We went one better, rather better. Any size made to order, pretty expensive. Well, it doesn't hide, does he? He tells it like it is, old Fleetwood. And just in case you think that he's all mouth and all trousers, we've got some letters on the back here which are reviews by people. With things like, it may interest you to know the garden shed was erected and in use half an hour after delivery. Perfect. My son tenders his congratulations. And again, if you think it's all mouth and trousers, he says, "There, a £1,000 challenge. I will give £1,000 sterling to any charity selected by the editor of any national newspaper if it can be proved that the copies of the letters published herein are not genuine. The originals are open to inspection." Now back then, £1,000 was a lot of money. You could buy a house for that. They certainly buy several of his sheds, I would imagine. But there we go. That's my new hero, Mr. Fleetwood Jones. Tell it like it is. What else do we have in this little box? Look, what's that? Blatz, is it? Beer Milwaukee. The Old Eilenberg Inn, outstanding for quality, food, refreshments and entertainment. Your Sovereign, Century of Progress Exposition, Chicago, 19... I'm not quite sure what that is. Somebody will tell me, 08 maybe? So there you go, there's a beer map that's made it all this way from the Old Eidelberg Inn in Milwaukee to my living room. Who knew? There is a... Oh, that's a last will and testament of somebody. Personal means of the deceased Christina somebody or other. So there we go, that's and again we've got these stamps. Look, ooh, receipt 1 penny. They look confusing those, don't they? But look at that lovely handwriting. I mean, how did they get through writing all that without making mistakes? I mean, mine looks like a right spider's web when I use a fountain pen, and they were probably using a dip pen. But anyway, payments of £342, 14 shillings 70 pence. So she wasn't not without some means. And we have another one, Harbour Trust. Oh, some more American things. New York State reservation at Niagara, claim check, parking 10 cents. Not responsible for theft or accident. No idea how old that is. Oh, another beer mat. It's alright. I can have 2 drinks now. This one. It's visitors at the World's Fair at the Old Eidelberg Inn. Somebody had a jolly old time there, didn't they? Oh, a little note on the back. I can't read that. What else have we got? Pintail Sherry. No idea what that's about. Obviously some postcards. And another thing, that is the Old Eidelberg. That's a postcard. 1933 was the centenary. Go to that anyway. More Mr. Smith and Jackson. Loads of those. Who else have we got? What other? We got David Henderson. He was the baker and confectioner. They always these little memorandums. They obviously sent little notes to each other. Dear somebody other, receipt of goods of the 24th. Yada yada yada. That one's William Forrest, bookseller, stationer and house agent, I Street, Moffat. William Forrest again. This one's John Mitchell. I know a Mitchell. High-class baker and confectioner. Yes, and nothing much changed. Visits the high-class baker and confectioner often. Yeah, and this one is, look at that letterhead. That's just so fantastic. And this is to Robert A. Bed. Manufacturing station, a lithographic printer, colour sampler of Cathcart Street, Green. Oh, a nice bit of red on it. I like a bit of red. There's another one in a different colour, but for the same person. A few of those. That one is Edmondson and Son, scale beam and weighing machine makers. He obviously provided some sort of service for somebody's weighing machine. We have Mr. Duncan McCallum, tailor and clothier, in 1920. He's obviously providing a... What did it say there? Ooh. All kinds of ladies and gents garments catered for. So if any of you ladies got any garments needed catered for, you know who to see. Oh, now this is again that this is another printers, stationers and lithographers and bookbinders. Obviously a bit of a call for it back there. Perfect printing executed by up-to-date machinery. Well, it's nice to know they weren't using old machinery. We take the lead for quality, style and price. Well, there's his prices, so we'll have to take his word for it. 4 pages of minutes, it says, that top one, for which he charged the printer the sum of £2, 2 shillings. My, that was dear. This is some bill of goods for some freight. All passengers, luggage, goods and livestock are received, carried and held subject to the conditions in the company's sailings bill. And it's to Glasgow, Dublin, Londonderry Steam Packet Company. There we go. A few of those. There's a lot in this box, isn't there? Surprising what you can come across. And this is the Windsor. That's it. Windsor election. Copy of the shorthand writer's notes of the judgment delivered by Mr. Baron Branwell in the case of Windsor election petition. Ordered by the House of Commons to be printed 7th of May 1874. Makes you wonder how these things survive. More Mr. Story, Mr. Story, Mr. Jackson. And then in the bottom, what we have is several, well actually there's probably 20 or 30 different pages of what one would assume were bus tickets. They're all for the Ayrshire Bus Owners AI service. And they're obviously, it's Kilmarnock and Princes Street. And somebody obviously had a collection of bus tickets, all different colours, all different prices. These ones here, as you can see, they have a list of names: Kilmarnock and Level Crossing, Lonefoot and Cally Station, Kelk Place and Dura, Crosshouse and Halfway. Obviously they're all places you can stop off, and you could have 10 journeys for over 5 days for 5 shillings weekly. Cheap way to travel. Anyway, that's enough of the paper ephemera, which hopefully you found somewhat interesting. Perhaps not as interesting as me, but undoubtedly interesting, I think. And what perfect things for digitising. Now the second lot I got is slightly different. It is a collection of old photographs, or what they used to call cabinet cards, which again, for turning into digitals, are just the thing. I think it's always a bit of a shame when you don't know who these people are. I mean, it's a very pretty woman with a basket full of flowers. And this one is 2 ladies, possibly sisters, who's to know? But the backs are just equally as interesting. You see the print photographed by G.P. Abraham, Lake Road Studio, Keswick. I could imagine it probably wasn't a particularly cheap thing to do. I mean, they certainly look reasonably well to do, don't they? Certainly middle class. There's that gentleman there with his fantastic moustache. This one's Charles Duval, Oldham Street, Manchester. Copies can always be had. I wonder if that's still true. But he's very smart, isn't he? Like his watch chain. I've got quite a few of these. There's another gentleman. No moustache this time. Yeah. This one's photographed by T.H. Baker, High Street, opposite Town Hall, Cleator Moor. So they're obviously all from different photographers. And there we go. He looks vaguely familiar, that chap, doesn't he? I don't know who he reminds me of, but he reminds me of somebody. There's a fantastic beard. Another pretty woman. Oh, it must have taken ages to get into those top. Look at all the buttons down the front. Oh, some very cherubic little baby. Another woman. She. Obviously, the basket of flowers was a thing, wasn't it? Oh, she looks quite stern. With a muff. And he looks a bit of a funny chap. The backdrop of the great outdoors. Oh, and he looks very... You could almost mistake that for being a dog collar, couldn't you? This hat, yeah, it does look very vicary. One, that looks like an older photograph, that one. Yeah, actually it's a glass plate, I think. Feels like a glass plate, thin glass plate. So that must be a very early photograph, that. And that one, she looks very school marmy, doesn't she? She looks like she's about to take that ruler to me. Nice beard. Young lady outdoors, standing against the wall with a hat. Look at all them buttons again. They liked the buttons, didn't they? So the one, a young lady with a fur coat. Well, maybe not a fur coat, could be a fur rug, but. And these ones, this is from Bromley, Kent, Home Office buildings, and that seems to be some sort of news article. London, May 31st, 1884, I think it is. I don't know what it's about. Births. It's obviously somebody's birth must have been in the newspaper, and they turned the clipping into a photograph. And there's a gentleman there standing by some flowers. And that one is from Carlisle. J. Monk Viaduct Studio, Charlotte Street, Carlisle. That's close to where we live. And then there's some other little photographs. That's a very tiny one. That one says Liverpool. And there's some little ones, which again I'm sure could be turned into... He looks like he's off Peaky Blinders, that one, doesn't he? Not that I've ever watched it, but it's what I imagined that it's about. Let's try and get these apart. There we go. There's some young girl with spectacles on. Somebody there with a full-on moustache. And a young girl that looks like it could be the opening credits for some sort of horror movie, to be frank. And that's another one. Somebody presumably in his, well, I say it's a boy, could be in a christening gown maybe. Oh, so many things you get. There's an old gentleman and lady. That's quite faded, that one. It's probably quite old. The gentleman with his nice bro-creamed hair with a centre part in. one there. See, all these are going to be great when they're turned into digitals if I ever get round to doing that. I find more fun in finding these things. Oh, more children. Oh, it's that one again, look. She's determined to haunt me, that one. That looks much later, doesn't it? That looks probably 1940s maybe. It's always a shame, I feel, that you never know who these people are. There we go. He looks very contemplative. Gentlemen, more pictures, more ladies. Oh, that's a nice one. 3 children there, look. 2 young girls and what could be a girl or a bird, it's hard to tell. What a sweet picture that one is. Another stern looking lady. Another fine example of a moustache. They certainly like the moustaches, even on the women. There we go. Oh, this is taking longer than I thought. Oh, there's a nice one. Look, that's obviously that's probably First World War. I guess he had his photograph taken with his 5 children and the dog before he went off to war. Now we are. Look, we do know these ones are James, Josie, Arthur, Edmondson, Albert, Ilda, and John Sharp. So we did know who those are. I wonder if he ever made it back for any more photographs. Oh, there's a little girl all dressed up in a sailor suit. This one, 11th Battalion Border Regiment. Oh, it's the same dog. Certainly could be the same man. There's the one from Workington, which is on the Cumbrian coast. One from Keswick. And we have a naval pay and identity book. There we go. There's the young fella, all in his uniform. Albert Heckles, able seaman, September 30th, 1919. So just after the war, First World War. And there's some stamps. And for the naval base, North Shields. Free travelling warrant supplied. This is old Korea there. Dental officer, medical officer. I guess you had to have everything stamped whenever you went to see anybody. And there's a bit of security there. Do not discuss service matters except in the course of your duty. Do not allow yourself to be pumped by friends or relatives or anybody else. Sound advice. Try to make them security conscious. Do not discuss service matters over the public telephone in hotels, buses or trains. Do not send indiscreet letters or telegrams. Take care that yours comply with the censorship rules for letters in force on board your ship. There you go. On board ship, don't let you be pumped by anybody. And those are all the little cabinet cards and photographs. And then we came with it another little sort of photograph album, I suppose you could say. And there we are. That's a big family group shot. And again, this one is the Edmondsons, which is that family that we mentioned earlier. We can't read that name, but we have Thomas, Alfred, Harriet, Lizzie, Josie, Fred and John, with father and mother, John Bow and Mary Elizabeth. And there we go. Well, if that's the same people, if that's the same gentleman, then he obviously survived long enough to... I mean, they had a lot of children back in those days. I think partly because, unfortunately, many didn't grow up to adulthood, and secondly, because there was no television. That's my theory. A nice gentleman there. Again, I've no idea who he is. Oh, hold on. Alf Edmondson. Ah. That'd be the Alfred, I guess, grown up. One of them little lads who was on that other photograph. That's it. That's Alfred all grown up. And then we have some here which look more sort of 1940s maybe. Young girl there, sure enough, very long socks. Don't know who these people are. There's a very nice gentleman there, look, all in his military uniform. Some more family photographs. It's weird in there, look at those, I presume bridesmaids. At least it was very unfortunate to get dressed up like that, I would have thought. Oh, look at that little lad there looking at his woolly little suit, probably knitted by Granny. Somebody's wedding photograph. Another military, they're obviously a very military family. She looks very like the matriarch, doesn't she? That lady. Oh, another gentleman in uniform. Much later, we'd actually moved into colour by that point. Presumably those are probably some of these pictures of the people in black and white. Yet another military gentleman. Looks a bit older, that one. That's more sort of First World War era. And somebody there who obviously won a lot of cups for something. Chrysanthemums. What's the clue on that picture that says he won his awards for chrysanthemums? I wonder. And then he looks a bit of a rogue, doesn't he? The little bomber jacket. There's that couple again. And then another couple of what look like very young lads in uniform. And there we go. That's the photographic section of our display. Thank you for joining me. Hope you enjoyed that quick flip through of the haul that we've got from a local auction over in Cockermouth in Cumbria. Hopefully some of those will appear in some digitals at some point, unless I find other things to go out and buy in the meantime. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure speaking to you for a change, and I'll see you again soon. And don't forget to tune in on Sunday for a Miss P Live. And if you're into your junk journaling, then visit Miss Painterlock's Junk Journal group on Facebook. So that's it. Bye for now.